Distracted driving means just what it says. You're distracted. Normally, when you're driving, it's because you're playing or reading a text message on your cell phone. But unfortunately, it's really become a safety epidemic on our roads.
And, I mean, we're talking about eating, drinking a soda, anything, really. I mean, anything that takes your eyes off the road is considered distraction.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've had cases where people are eating spaghetti while they're driving. But, we're seeing things like streaming movies on Netflix, YouTube. I hate to say it, but even porn, social media use. It's that dopamine hit. The science shows it just skyrockets our chances of getting involved in a crash. And it really makes the roads just so much more dangerous for everybody else that's on them.
From a legal standpoint, what are some of the ramifications of distracted driving?
In Michigan, all drivers are prohibited from texting while they're driving using a handheld phone. Most drivers are not prohibited from using a cell phone, like dialing or holding it, initiating a call, answering, talking, listening. But for teen drivers, they are prohibited. And that's because Michigan has something called Kelsey's Law. And the reason is that we know the science shows that younger drivers are so much more dangerous and so much more susceptible to driving distracted. I think the latest statistics are over 20% of all accidents involving distracted driving involve people 20 years of age or younger. So it's a huge problem for the young. The other issue that is truck drivers and school bus drivers are also prohibited from using a handheld cell phone when they're driving because, again, the science just shows even though we think it's safer, believe it or not, just holding a handheld cell phone increases your chances of getting involved in a car crash 12 times more likely than someone who is not holding a cell phone.
You mentioned that it is younger drivers who are more distracted and getting into more crashes, some of them fatal even. How do parents become a role model for their teenagers or even their younger kids to show them that it's not all right to do this?
That is such an important point. The key is being a role model. Because at the end of the day, it's not what we say, it's what we do. And if, our children are in the car and they're watching us and we are driving distracted, we are engaging in dangerous habits with a cell phone. I talk to high schools all over the state. I talk to parents groups all over the state. None of that's going to matter. At the end of the day, we have to be a better model for our children. And what I'm hoping most is that the science and awareness, and that's why we have Distracted Driving Awareness Month, right, is that finally we're going to become more aware about just how dangerous this is. People need to understand, if you text and drive, you are 23 times more likely to crash. 23 times. That's inexcusable. These relatively small changes we can make in our driving behaviors as parents can bring huge improvements in everyone's safety on Michigan roads.
Can you talk a little bit about the actual crashes? And, of course, there's the person who is driving and then the victims. But, this has a trickle-down effect with the families and loved ones, especially if one of these crashes are fatal.
Any type of catastrophic injury, it affects everyone. It's layers. It's that pebble in a smooth lake, and it's just that ripple effect of all the different people in the community whose lives are touched. What I compare distracted driving to is that iceberg in the water, right? Where maybe you see the little top part that's over the water, but we don't see that giant mass of ice of the iceberg that's underneath the water. And, to give you an idea, right now, government statistics, NHTSA says that about 26% of all car crashes are caused by cell phone use, basically distracted driving, texting, what have you. I can tell you as an auto accident attorney, it's way more than that. It's probably well over 50%. Because the problem is that most police do not check cell phones. They can't actually because of the Fourth Amendment, unless there's a fatality where they're doing a download of the cell phone, and that's only Michigan State Police. So in the vast majority of car crashes, cell phone use is never uncovered unless the driver volunteers it. But in my cases where I am doing discovery and trying to find the cell phone evidence, I'm finding it in more than 1 out of every 2 cases. So it has really become this safety epidemic that I think people are just slowly starting to realize, but it touches everybody. For those of you who are listening in the car right now, look to your left and look to your right. And for a lot of you out there, you're going to see people on their cell phones. It's a really big problem. It causes way too many completely preventable crashes. And that's the tragedy. And hopefully by spreading awareness, by having this month of April be Distracted Driving Awareness Month, just a little change, like putting down that cell phone when you drive, can save lives and just prevent so many tragedies.
Well, thank you so much. So your number one tip to teenage drivers, even adults, is put away the phone.
Put away the phone. If you're a parent and you're concerned, there's like 12 fantastic apps that are out there that you could put on your kid's phone that literally will prevent them from texting while driving. There's so many things we can do now. The most important thing, honestly, is be a good role model. Put down that phone. It can wait.